You see, the very notion that there is something wrong with you, that you need to be fixed, is one of the most profound illusions we've been taught to believe. From the moment we're born, society whispers into our ears that we are not enough, that we must improve, that we must strive. But let me tell you this, there is nothing wrong with you. There never was, and there never will be. In fact, the idea of deficiency is a construct, a belief system built on the misguided notion that we are separate from the natural flow of life. You are not a machine that needs repairing, nor are you a problem to be solved. You are an expression of life, as intricate and beautiful as a flower blooming in the spring, or the waves breaking gently on the shore. Your very existence is the solution. You are the answer, not the question. Now, many of us find ourselves caught in this endless cycle of self-improvement. We read books, take courses, change our habits, all in the hope that we'll somehow become better. But here's the secret. Growth doesn't come from trying to fix yourself. It comes from embracing who you are fully, deeply, without reservation. The first step to true growth is the acceptance of where you are right now. Right here in this very moment. And when you accept yourself, growth happens naturally. It isn't forced. It isn't a battle. It's a flow, a natural unfolding of who you were always meant to be. The beauty of life lies in imperfection. It is in those moments of fragility, those cracks in our being, that the light shines through. If you think about it, nature itself is full of imperfections, yet in those imperfections it is breathtaking. So, why should we, as human beings, expect ourselves to be anything less than perfectly imperfect? The very idea of perfection is not only unrealistic but utterly unnecessary. You are perfect just as you are. And let's talk about approval for a moment. We've been conditioned to seek approval, to look outside ourselves for validation. But why? Why seek permission from others to be who you truly are? The world doesn't need to give you permission to be yourself. You are already worthy just as you are. Your worth isn't dependent on what others think of you. It never was. In truth, you are the universe expressing itself. Each one of us is a unique note in the cosmic symphony, a living, breathing manifestation of something far greater than ourselves. And in this grand, beautiful tapestry, there is no need for fixing. There is only being here, being now, being yourself. When you stop trying to fix yourself, you stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You let go of the struggle, and in that surrender, in that quiet acceptance of your own being, you find the peace you've been searching for all along. So, I ask you this. What if, just for a moment, you let go of the idea that something is wrong with you? What if you embraced yourself, flaws and all, and saw the perfection in your imperfection? Wouldn't that be freedom? There is an immense freedom in letting go, and yet, paradoxically, the very concept of letting go can seem daunting to most of us. We've been conditioned, from the moment we can comprehend, to hold on. We hold on to our beliefs, our identities, our possessions, our relationships, our plans, and most of all, we hold on to the idea that there is something we must accomplish, something we must become. We cling to these notions because, in their grasp, we believe we will find stability, meaning, or purpose. But here's the thing, holding on tightly to anything, in the end, only creates tension, resistance, and suffering. True freedom comes not in holding on, but in letting go. Now, it's not that holding on is inherently bad, or that there's something wrong with wanting to achieve things. That is part of the human experience. But the struggle begins when we mistake the things we cling to for who we are, and we define ourselves through them. We come to believe that if we lose any of these things, if we let go, we will lose a part of ourselves. This is where the real bind lies. We come to feel as though we are defined by what we own, what we do, and what others think of us. we lose sight of the fact that the core of who we are is not bound by any of these fleeting constructs. Our true essence is already complete, whole, and free. Freedom, you see, isn't something to be achieved or attained. It's already within you. It is not a goal on the horizon, waiting for you to reach it. It's the very nature of your being. But we live as though freedom is something we need to fight for, something that is given to us by others, or something we must attain through external success. This is a misunderstanding. Real freedom comes not through accumulating more or achieving more, but through shedding the weight of unnecessary attachments, expectations, and identifications. When you let go of the need to control the future, the need to shape yourself into some ideal version of who you think you should be, you open up to the vastness of life as it is. You are free, not because you have everything you want, but because you are no longer shackled by the fear of losing what you have, or the need to hold on to what you think you need. In letting go, you surrender to the natural flow of existence, which is ever changing and ever present. It's like a river flowing to the ocean. You don't see the river trying to hold on to each drop of water it carries. It simply flows with trust in the journey. The idea of letting go, though, often causes discomfort. It stirs up a fear within us, the fear that we will be lost, adrift without a purpose. And yet, it's this very fear that keeps us trapped in cycles of struggle and striving. When you let go of the need to control every outcome, to constantly hold on to every bit of your identity, you become like the wind, unattached, yet moving with the currents of life. The freedom you seek is not in controlling or achieving, but in the deep trust that whatever happens, you will still be whole. The self that is trying to achieve is not the real you. It is a construct, an idea. And once you let go of the idea that you need to be someone other than who you are, the true you begins to emerge already complete, already free. The freedom in letting go is not a freedom from life, but a freedom to live life fully. It is the freedom to experience the world without the constant burden of needing to manipulate it or ourselves. It is the freedom to be in the moment, to breathe, to feel, to love, without the incessant pressure to prove something or fix something. When we release the grip on our expectations, we suddenly find that life itself is far more expansive than we ever thought. We no longer approach life as a series of obstacles to overcome, but as an unfolding mystery to explore. There is freedom in letting go, because in that surrender there is a deep peace. We stop fighting against the flow of life, stop resisting what is, and this doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. On the contrary, it means becoming active in a new way, by allowing life to guide us, rather than trying to force our own narrow ideas of how it should unfold. It is the freedom of trusting that the universe knows the way, that everything is in its right place, and that we are exactly where we need to be. And so, the more we let go, the more we discover what it means to truly live. We move from striving to being, from control to surrender, from fear to trust. The paradox is that in letting go of the need to fix ourselves, to fix the world, we are finally able to be ourselves, free, open, and fully alive. The illusion of deficiency is one of the most profound deceptions we live under, and yet it is so deeply ingrained in our psyche that we hardly notice it. From the moment we are born, we are told that we need to be something more, something better, something different than what we already are. The message is clear: something is lacking, but in truth nothing is missing. The feeling of deficiency is merely an illusion, a constructed idea designed to keep us in a constant state of longing, of striving, of perpetual dissatisfaction. The first step in understanding this illusion is to recognize where it comes from. We are constantly bombarded by external forces, society, culture, media, that tell us we are not enough, we are not rich enough, smart enough, successful enough, thin enough, happy enough. We are led to believe that if we only had a bit more money, more fame, more approval, then we would finally be complete. We're taught that we must strive, seek and chase after these things, that only then will we be worthy. But all this does is perpetuate a never-ending cycle of desire. We become trapped in the idea that we must fix ourselves, that we are incomplete, and that our worth is dependent on our achievements or the approval of others. This illusion of deficiency is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of who we are. We have come to identify ourselves with our possessions, our accomplishments, and our status. We mistakenly believe that our value is determined by what we own, what we do, or how others perceive us. But this is not who we are. These things are external to us, temporary and fleeting. Our true essence, our real self, is not bound by any of these things. You are not defined by the clothes you wear, the job you have, or the titles you carry. You are something far more profound, far more complete than that. The moment we stop believing in the illusion of deficiency, we begin to see that we are already whole, already perfect as we are. There is no need to chase after anything, to fix anything, to improve anything. Our worth is inherent. We do not need to prove it. We do not need to seek it. We simply need to realize that we are enough, just as we are. The need to fix ourselves comes from the mistaken belief that we are incomplete, that something essential is missing. But this belief is a lie. The very nature of life itself is that it is whole, interconnected, and complete. And so are you. The sense of deficiency arises not from who we truly are, but from the layers of conditioning and external expectations that obscure our true self. When we look deeper, we see that deficiency is often tied to comparison. We compare ourselves to others and judge our worth based on how we measure up. But comparison is a trap. It leads to a constant sense of inadequacy, because there will always be someone who seems to have more, do more, be more. The very act of comparing ourselves to others is a denial of our own uniqueness, of our own individual expression. You are not meant to be like anyone else. You are meant to be the fullest expression of who you are. And when you stop comparing, when you stop measuring yourself against others, you release the illusion of deficiency and step into the fullness of your own being. This is not to say that we cannot grow, learn, or evolve. Far from it. Growth is a natural part of life. But growth comes from a place of wholeness, not from a place of lack. True growth arises when we embrace ourselves as we are, when we accept that we are already enough. It is from this place of acceptance that we can move forward, not in a desperate attempt to fix ourselves, but in the joyful exploration of life, discovering the infinite potential that already exists within us. The illusion of deficiency also keeps us trapped in the idea that there is a destination we must reach, some goal we must achieve in order to be happy or fulfilled. We spend our lives chasing after things, success, wealth, fame, believing that once we attain them, we will finally be complete. But the truth is, there is no final destination. Life is not about achieving something to prove your worth. It is about experiencing the fullness of the present moment, being alive and awake to the beauty that surrounds us, and realizing that everything you need is already here within you. The sense of deficiency falls away when we realize that the journey itself is the destination. You don't need to go anywhere, achieve anything, or become anything in order to be whole. The illusion of deficiency is the belief that there is something wrong with you, something missing. But nothing is missing. You are not broken. You are not incomplete. You are whole, you are enough, and you are exactly as you should be. Once you let go of the belief that something is wrong, you can begin to experience life in its full richness, free from the constant pressure to fix yourself. You can let go of the need to chase after external validation and simply live as you are, perfect, whole and complete. And in that realization, you will find the freedom to live with joy, peace, and an unshakable sense of self-worth. The path of self-acceptance is not a road that is paved with grand declarations or monumental achievements. It is a quiet journey, an inner unfolding that takes place when we stop running from ourselves and start embracing who we truly are as we are. It is not about achieving some idealized version of ourselves, nor is it about fixing what we perceive to be flaws or imperfections. Rather, self-acceptance is the art of realizing that who you are right now is enough. It is the realization that you are not broken, and that the journey is not about becoming something different, but about remembering who you have always been beneath the layers of judgment, fear, and self-criticism. We are often taught from a very young age that we must improve ourselves, that we must become better versions of ourselves, that we must strive for something greater. Society encourages us to chase after success, approval, and perfection, telling us that we are not enough as we are. And so we embark on a quest, sometimes a lifelong one, to fix ourselves, to become worthy, to earn our place in the world. But this quest is based on a fundamental misunderstanding. It is based on the false belief that something is missing, that there is a deficiency within us that must be addressed. The truth, however, is that there is nothing wrong with you. You are already complete, just as you are. The path of self-acceptance begins with a simple but profound shift in perspective. It is the shift from judgment to compassion, from resistance to surrender. When we stop judging ourselves, we allow ourselves the space to be imperfect, to be human, to be flawed. In this space there is no need to hide or to put on a mask. There is no need to prove ourselves, to earn love or approval. We are enough just as we are. This is the foundation of self-acceptance. It is not about self-improvement, but about self-love. The path is not about trying to change yourself into something you are not, but about coming into harmony with your true essence. This journey requires courage, because it means facing the parts of ourselves that we have long ignored, rejected, or tried to fix. It means looking at our fears, our vulnerabilities, and our insecurities, and accepting them as part of our human experience. It means letting go of the need to be perfect, to always have it together, to always be in control. It means being willing to sit with the discomfort of imperfection, knowing that it does not define us. The truth is that we are all imperfect, all in the process of becoming, and there is immense beauty in that. Self-acceptance also requires letting go of comparison. We live in a world that constantly invites us to compare ourselves to others, to measure our worth against theirs. We are bombarded with images of success, beauty, and happiness, and we are led to believe that we must conform to these ideals in order to be valid, to be worthy. But this is an illusion. There is no one else in the world exactly like you, and the path of self-acceptance requires us to honor our own unique journey, to stop measuring our worth against someone else's standards. Your worth is not determined by how you compare to others. Your worth is inherent in your being, in your existence. When you stop comparing, you can begin to see the beauty in your own story, in your own experiences, in your own truth. The process of self-acceptance is also deeply connected to our ability to forgive ourselves. We all have moments in our lives that we wish we could undo, things we regret, mistakes we have made. But holding on to these regrets, holding on to guilt and shame, only keeps us trapped in the past. True self-acceptance requires us to forgive ourselves for the things we cannot change, to release ourselves from the burden of past mistakes. It is not about excusing harmful behavior, but about understanding that we are all human, and that growth comes from learning, not from punishing ourselves for our imperfections. When we forgive ourselves, we free ourselves from the chains of self-criticism and open up to the possibility of transformation. Another essential aspect of self-acceptance is recognizing that we are not our thoughts, nor are we our emotions. So often we identify ourselves with the constant stream of thoughts that run through our minds, or with the emotional turbulence that we experience. But our thoughts and feelings are just that, thoughts and feelings. They are transient, ever-changing, and they do not define who we truly are. Self-acceptance means stepping back from these thoughts and emotions, observing them without attaching our identity to them. We are the awareness behind the thoughts, the space in which all emotions arise. In recognizing this, we can detach ourselves from the need to control or fix every thought and feeling. We can simply allow them to arise and pass without judgment or resistance. Ultimately, the path of self-acceptance is the path of freedom. It is the freedom to be yourself, to show up in the world as you are, without fear of judgment or rejection. It is the freedom to live without the constant pressure to be someone else, to live up to someone else's standards, to achieve some external measure of success. It is the freedom to trust that you are already whole, that you are already worthy, that you are already enough. And in this freedom there is peace, a peace that comes from embracing yourself fully and completely, just as you are. When you accept yourself, the world opens up to you in ways you never thought possible. You become free to live your life authentically, without the need to hide, to perform, or to pretend. You simply are, and that is enough. Life is not about constant striving, and yet this is the very narrative that many of us are taught from an early age. We are raised in a world that places a high value on achievement, on the pursuit of success, on the idea that we must always be moving, always pushing forward, always striving for something more. This sense of relentless pursuit can lead us to believe that our worth is tied to our productivity, that our value is determined by how much we accomplish. But in reality, this constant striving is a trap. It is an illusion that keeps us from experiencing the fullness of life as it is. The very idea that life is about constant striving creates a subtle sense of dissatisfaction, a belief that something is always missing, that we are always lacking. It suggests that we are incomplete, that we must become something more, or that we need to do more in order to be happy, fulfilled, or worthy. This mindset leads us into a cycle where we constantly chase after external goals, only to find that once we reach them, they are not as satisfying as we expected. And so we set new goals and the cycle continues. We find ourselves on a never-ending treadmill, forever running but never truly arriving. But what if we stepped off this treadmill? What if we stopped chasing after goals as though they were the only thing that mattered, and instead began to embrace life as it is right now in its present form? What if the key to true fulfillment wasn't in striving, but in accepting what is exactly as it is? Life is not about the destination. It is about the journey. It is not about the things you acquire, the titles you collect, or the milestones you reach. It is about the experience of living itself. It is about being present in each moment, fully engaged in the world around you, and allowing life to unfold naturally, without the constant pressure to control or shape it. The beauty of life is found in its simplicity, in its spontaneity, in its unpredictability. When we stop striving, we open ourselves up to the mystery of life, to the flow of things as they are. we begin to see that everything we need is already here in the present moment. This does not mean that we should abandon all goals or stop seeking growth. It simply means that we must shift our perspective. Striving becomes a source of suffering when it is rooted in the belief that something is wrong with us, that we are not enough, or that we must always be more than we are. But when striving is rooted in love and curiosity, when it comes from a place of joy and passion, it becomes a natural extension of who we are. It is no longer about filling a void, but about expressing the fullness of life that is already within us. The truth is that life is full of beauty, richness, and wisdom, but we often fail to notice it because we are too focused on what we don't have or what we think we need to achieve. We miss the small moments of joy, the laughter of a child, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the quiet stillness of the early morning. These are the moments that make life truly meaningful, yet we often overlook them in our quest for something more. When we stop constantly striving, we allow ourselves to be present. We let go of the need to control every outcome, to shape every moment according to our desires. Instead, we become open to whatever comes, trusting that everything unfolds in its own time. This doesn't mean we become passive or complacent. On the contrary, it means we approach life with a sense of acceptance, of surrender to what is, and from this place of acceptance, we can act with clarity and purpose. Life is not about constantly seeking more. It is about embracing what is already here. When we stop striving, we begin to see that we are already whole, that we are already complete, and that we do not need to prove anything to anyone. The peace and contentment we seek do not come from the achievement of external goals, but from the quiet realization that we are enough, exactly as we are. And in this realization we are free to live fully, without the pressure to constantly strive or to measure ourselves against some ideal. When we stop striving, we create space for peace, for joy, for spontaneity. We begin to live in harmony with the flow of life, moving with it rather than against it. We allow ourselves to rest, to breathe, to enjoy the present moment, knowing that life is not a race to be won, but an experience to be lived. In the stillness, we find a deeper connection to ourselves and to the world around us. And in that connection, we discover the true meaning of life, not in the endless pursuit of something more, but in the simple acceptance of what is. So, let go of the belief that life is about constant striving. Let go of the idea that you must always be moving, always achieving, always doing. Life is about being, about experiencing, about savoring the moments that pass so quickly. It is about resting in the knowledge that you are enough, and that everything you need is already within you. The true beauty of life is found not in the striving, but in the being. And when you embrace this, you will find that life becomes a much more peaceful, fulfilling, and joyful experience. The beauty of imperfection is often overlooked, for we are conditioned to seek perfection at all costs. From childhood, we are taught that perfection is the ideal, that our worth, our success, our happiness, all depend on achieving flawlessness. Yet, in this pursuit, we miss the richness of life itself, which lies not in perfection, but in the unique and authentic beauty of imperfection. Perfection, as we tend to define it, is a construct, an abstraction, a standard imposed by external influences, society, culture, and sometimes even ourselves. It is an ideal that exists only in the mind, a moving target that is ever out of reach. We strive for it, often at great cost, believing that only when we are perfect will we be worthy of love, success, or peace. But this pursuit blinds us to the truth, that imperfection is not something to be ashamed of or corrected. It is, in fact, the very thing that makes us human, and, ultimately, the thing that gives life its depth and richness. When we stop chasing perfection, we begin to see the beauty in the small cracks and flaws that make us who we are. Think about the things that are most precious to you, whether it be a beloved piece of art, a treasured object, or a relationship. These things are often beautiful not because they are flawless, but because of their imperfections. A painting with uneven brushstrokes tells a story, a piece of pottery with a small crack holds a memory, and a friendship marked by vulnerability and imperfection is often the strongest. It is the imperfections that give character, that make something or someone truly unique. This same principle applies to ourselves. We are often so focused on our flaws, our mistakes, and our shortcomings that we forget to see the beauty in them. Our imperfections are not signs of failure. They are part of the very fabric of our existence. They are what allow us to grow, to learn, to evolve. Without imperfection there would be no growth. There would be no challenges to overcome, no lessons to learn. It is in our imperfections that we find the opportunities for transformation, for self-discovery, and for deeper connection with others. The beauty of imperfection is also evident in the natural world. Nature does not strive for perfection, it simply is. A tree is not perfect. It may have scars, bent branches, or uneven growth. But these imperfections only add to its beauty. Each imperfection tells the story of the tree's unique journey through time, its struggle to survive, and its resilience. The same is true for us. Our imperfections are not flaws to be eradicated, but are part of the story of who we are. They are what make us real, what make us authentic, and what allow us to connect with others on a deeper level. When we embrace our imperfections, we allow ourselves to be free. We stop hiding behind masks, stop pretending to be something we are not, and begin to live in the fullness of who we truly are. We can let go of the constant need for approval and start to accept ourselves, imperfections and all. In this acceptance, we find peace. We realize that we do not need to be perfect to be worthy of love or respect. We are already enough, just as we are. The beauty of imperfection also teaches us to be compassionate, to ourselves and to others. We are all imperfect, each carrying our own flaws, struggles, and wounds. When we accept our own imperfections, we are more likely to accept others as they are, with all of their flaws and complexities. We stop expecting perfection from the people around us, and in doing so, we create deeper, more authentic connections. We learn to see the beauty in the imperfections of others, just as we see the beauty in our own. In the end, imperfection is not something to be feared or avoided. It is something to be celebrated. It is the essence of life itself. It is what makes us human, what makes us unique, and what makes life so wonderfully unpredictable and full of possibility. When we stop trying to fix ourselves, to perfect ourselves, we open the door to true freedom, the freedom to be ourselves, to embrace our flaws, and to live fully in the moment. The beauty of imperfection is that it allows us to be real, to be authentic, and to experience life as it truly is, with all of its messiness, unpredictability, and wonder. So embrace your imperfections. Celebrate them. Know that in your flaws, in your mistakes, and in your vulnerability, you are perfect exactly as you are. Life does not need to be flawless to be beautiful. It is the imperfection, the cracks in the surface, that allow the light to shine through. And in that light, we find the truest, most profound beauty of all. Letting go of the need for approval is one of the most liberating acts we can undertake in life. From an early age, we are conditioned to seek validation from others, to earn their approval, to fit into their expectations, to gain their recognition. This constant striving for external approval becomes a silent force that drives much of our actions, decisions, and behaviors. We think that if we can just gain the approval of those around us, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, or society, we will finally be happy, finally be at peace. But the truth is, the need for approval is a trap. It keeps us bound to the opinions of others, and in doing so, it keeps us disconnected from our true selves. The need for approval arises from a deep-seated belief that we are not enough as we are. We believe that in order to be worthy, we must conform, we must perform, we must seek validation from the outside world. We look to others for reassurance, for affirmation, to confirm that we are on the right path. But in doing so, we give away our power. We place our sense of self-worth in the hands of others, and we allow their opinions to dictate how we feel about ourselves. This creates a never-ending cycle of dependence, where we are constantly seeking approval, but never truly feeling secure or at peace with who we are. When we are constantly seeking approval, we are not living authentically. We are living for others, trying to meet their expectations and fulfill their desires. This creates a disconnect between who we are at our core and the persona we project to the world. We begin to wear masks, adopting behaviors and attitudes that are not our own, simply to gain approval. We become so focused on pleasing others that we forget to please ourselves. We forget that our true value comes not from the approval of others, but from our own acceptance of ourselves. Letting go of the need for approval is not about rejecting others or becoming selfish. It is about reclaiming our power. It is about recognizing that our worth is inherent, that we do not need to seek validation from the outside world to know that we are enough. When we let go of the need for approval, we free ourselves from the pressure to conform, to fit into someone else's mold. We allow ourselves to be who we truly are, without fear of judgment or rejection. We begin to trust ourselves, our instincts, and our intuition. We stop asking for permission to live our lives and instead start living from a place of inner knowing. This shift is incredibly liberating because it allows us to be more honest, more open, and more vulnerable. Without the fear of needing to be approved of, we can show up as we truly are, with all our imperfections, quirks, and flaws. We can embrace our uniqueness and live authentically, knowing that we do not need to be anything other than what we are. When we let go of the need for approval, we create space for self-acceptance and self-love. We recognize that we are worthy of love and respect, not because of what others think of us, but because of who we are at our core. The freedom that comes from letting go of the need for approval also allows us to make decisions that are true to ourselves. We stop making choices based on what others expect of us, or what we think will gain us approval. Instead, we begin to make decisions from a place of alignment with our true desires, values, and beliefs. We stop seeking external validation and start cultivating an inner sense of peace and contentment. We trust that we are enough, just as we are, and that we do not need to prove ourselves to anyone. The need for approval also holds us back from taking risks, from stepping into our full potential. When we are constantly worried about what others will think, we hold ourselves back from pursuing our dreams, from taking bold action, from living fully. We allow the fear of judgment to keep us small. But when we let go of the need for approval, we find the courage to step into the unknown, to follow our passions, and to live with authenticity. We begin to take ownership of our lives, knowing that the only approval we need is our own. Letting go of the need for approval is not an overnight process. It is a journey of self-discovery, of learning to trust ourselves, and of embracing our worthiness. It requires a shift in perspective, a letting go of the belief that our value is determined by others. It requires the courage to be vulnerable, to take risks, and to embrace who we are without fear of judgment. But the rewards are immeasurable. When we stop seeking approval, we start living in alignment with our true selves. we experience greater freedom, greater peace, and greater joy. In the end, the need for approval is nothing more than an illusion. It is a story we tell ourselves to seek reassurance, to fill a sense of emptiness or insecurity. But when we learn to let go of this need, we reconnect with the truth that we are already enough, just as we are. We realize that we do not need anyone's approval to live a fulfilled life. The only approval that truly matters is the approval we give ourselves, the love and acceptance we offer ourselves, and the trust we place in our own inner wisdom. So, let go of the need for approval. Step into your own power, live authentically, and trust that you are worthy of love and respect, not because of anyone else's opinion, but because of the simple truth that you are enough. Let go of the need for approval. This is not just a suggestion, but an invitation to live more fully, more freely, and more authentically. From the moment we are born, we are shaped by the expectations and judgments of those around us. We are conditioned to seek approval, to measure our worth against the standards set by others, and to constantly look outside ourselves for validation. But in this constant quest for external approval, we lose sight of who we truly are. We lose connection with our own essence, our true selves, and we become imprisoned by the opinions of others. The need for approval is a silent force that governs much of our lives. It drives us to act in ways that we think will earn us love, acceptance, or praise. We mold ourselves into shapes that fit the expectations of others, thinking that by doing so we will find happiness and peace. But happiness that is dependent on the approval of others is fragile, fleeting, and ultimately unsatisfying. It is like trying to fill a cup that has no bottom. No matter how much we seek, it will never be enough. The more we seek approval, the more we lose touch with our true nature, and the more we disconnect from our inner peace. This constant striving for approval creates a life of perpetual anxiety, always wondering if we are doing enough, if we are being enough, or if others will approve of what we say or do. It is a life of endless comparison, of measuring ourselves against others, and of worrying about what others think. In this state, we can never truly be at peace, because our peace is always dependent on an outside source. We are like leaves being tossed around by the wind, subject to the ever-changing opinions of the world. But what if we stopped seeking approval altogether? What if we recognized that our worth does not depend on the opinions of others, that we are enough just as we are? What if we trusted ourselves enough to stop living for the approval of others, and instead began living for our own approval? The truth is, when we let go of the need for approval, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of freedom. We stop living in the shadow of others' expectations, and begin living in alignment with our own truth. We begin to trust ourselves, to listen to our inner voice, and to make decisions based on what feels right for us, not what others expect or approve of. Letting go of the need for approval is not about rejecting others or becoming selfish. It is about reclaiming our power, about realizing that we are not defined by the opinions of others, and that our worth is inherent, not conditional. When we stop seeking approval, we start living authentically. We embrace who we are, flaws and all, knowing that we do not need to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect. Our worth comes from within, from our essence, from the fact that we are alive, conscious, and present in this world. In letting go of the need for approval, we also open ourselves to a deeper level of connection with others. When we stop trying to fit into someone else's mold, we allow ourselves to be real. We become more genuine, more vulnerable, and more open to the world around us. And in doing so, we invite others to do the same. We create space for real, authentic relationships, where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment or rejection. It is in these authentic connections that we experience true intimacy, true belonging, and true love. Letting go of the need for approval also means letting go of the fear of judgment. It means accepting that not everyone will like us, agree with us, or approve of our choices, and that's okay. We do not need the approval of everyone to feel worthy or valuable. The only approval we need is our own, and once we begin to approve of ourselves, we begin to live with greater confidence, greater peace, and greater joy. We are no longer living for others, we are living for ourselves. This journey of letting go is not always easy. It requires us to confront the fears, insecurities, and doubts that have been ingrained in us over the years. It requires us to challenge the beliefs we have held about our worth, and to release the need for external validation. But it is also a profoundly liberating experience. When we let go of the need for approval, we free ourselves from the chains of comparison, judgment, and expectation. We reclaim our true power and step into a life that is authentic, vibrant, and full of possibility. So, let go of the need for approval. Stop living for others and start living for yourself. Know that you are enough just as you are. You do not need anyone's permission to be who you are. Your worth is inherent, and it is not determined by what others think of you. When you begin to approve of yourself, you unlock the freedom to live fully, to be yourself unapologetically, and to experience life with all its richness and beauty. The only approval that matters is the approval you give yourself, and once you realize that, you will discover a freedom and peace that can never be taken away. You are the universe expressing itself. This may sound like a philosophical notion, but it is in fact the fundamental truth of our existence. You see, we have been taught for so long to view ourselves as separate, individual entities, disconnected from the vast, infinite cosmos around us. But this is a misperception, a limited view of who we really are. In reality, each of us is an expression of the universe, one of its many manifestations, each unique yet fundamentally part of the whole. The universe is not some distant, abstract entity existing outside of us. It is alive within us. We are the universe experiencing itself through our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and our very presence. Every breath we take, every thought we think, every feeling we feel is an expression of the universe unfolding through us. Our lives are not separate from the cosmic dance of existence. We are participants in it. The stars, the oceans, the mountains, and the trees are not external to us. They are all expressions of the same energy that pulses within us. When we understand that we are the universe expressing itself, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. Every individual, every creature, every plant, and every star is part of a vast, intricate web of existence. We are not isolated beings moving through a meaningless world. We are threads woven into the fabric of life, playing our part in a grand, cosmic symphony. This realization brings a profound sense of peace, because we begin to understand that we are not alone in this vast universe. We are the universe itself, and everything around us is a reflection of who we are. The beauty of this understanding lies in the recognition that there is no separation between us and the world. The boundaries we perceive, between ourselves and others, between ourselves and nature, between ourselves and the universe are illusory. In truth, there is no other. There is only one energy, one consciousness, expressing itself in infinite forms. When we realize this, we let go of the need for division, for comparison, and for conflict. We see ourselves in others, and we see others in ourselves. The distinctions we once made between me and you, us and them, human and nature, all begin to dissolve, and in their place a deep sense of unity emerges. This unity does not mean that we are all the same, or that our uniqueness is lost. On the contrary, the universe expresses itself in an infinite variety of ways. Each of us is a unique expression of the same cosmic energy, bringing our own individual qualities, perspectives, and experiences into the world. It is this diversity that enriches the universe, that makes it so alive, so vibrant, so full of possibility. The stars, each different, all contribute to the brilliance of the night sky. In the same way, each of us, unique and different, contributes to the beauty and complexity of the world. To fully embrace the idea that you are the universe expressing itself is to step into your true power. It means recognizing that you are not a passive observer of life, but an active participant in it. The thoughts you think, the actions you take, the love you give, and the way you show up in the world are all part of the universe unfolding. You are not here by accident. You are an essential part of the grand design. The choices you make, the love you share, and the way you live your life all ripple through the fabric of existence, influencing the world in ways you may not even realize. When you begin to see yourself as the universe expressing itself, your sense of purpose deepens. You begin to understand that your life is not just about individual success, material wealth, or personal accomplishments. It is about contributing to the unfolding of the universe, about expressing your unique essence in a way that benefits all of life. Your joy, your creativity, your compassion, these are not just for you. They are expressions of the universe itself, and by sharing them with the world, you participate in the divine play of existence. This awareness also brings a sense of peace. When you understand that you are part of something much greater than yourself, the worries and struggles of daily life take on a different perspective. The obstacles you face, the challenges you encounter, are not random events or meaningless suffering. They are part of the cosmic flow, opportunities for growth, for expansion, for greater expression. You no longer need to fight against life, to try to control it. Instead, you learn to flow with it, to dance with the rhythm of the universe, knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. So, remember, you are not separate from the universe. You are the universe expressing itself in a unique and beautiful form. Your existence is not a random accident, but a purposeful unfolding of energy, consciousness, and life. You are an integral part of the grand design, and your presence here matters. When you recognize this truth, everything changes. You see the world with new eyes, you live with a deeper sense of meaning, and you realize that you are never alone. You are always the universe expressing itself in all its glory. Freedom in surrender. What a paradoxical phrase, yet one that holds the key to profound peace and liberation. In our world, we are often taught to resist, to fight, to strive. We are conditioned to believe that freedom comes through control, through asserting our will, and through mastering every aspect of our lives. We are led to think that by holding tightly to our desires, our goals, and our expectations, we can carve out our path and shape our destiny. Yet, true freedom lies not in control, but in surrender. Surrender is not about giving up or becoming passive. It is not about surrendering to the whims of fate or relinquishing our responsibility. No, surrender is about letting go of the illusion of control and trusting the flow of life. It is about releasing the need to force things, to bend the universe to our will, and allowing life to unfold as it is meant to, without resistance. It is about accepting that there are forces far greater than us at play, forces that we may not understand, but that are guiding us in ways we cannot always see. When we surrender, we let go of the anxiety, the fear, and the tension that come from constantly trying to control every outcome. We stop holding on so tightly to our expectations, our ideas of how things should be, and we open ourselves to the possibility that life has something far greater in store for us than we could ever imagine. We trust that, just as the tides come and go, so too will life unfold in its own perfect rhythm. The more we surrender to this flow, the more we experience true freedom. Freedom in surrender is not about abandoning our desires or giving up on our dreams. It is about releasing the attachment to how those desires must be fulfilled. It is about trusting that we do not have to have every step of the journey mapped out, that we do not need to control every moment. When we release this need, we create space for the universe to work its magic, to bring us what we truly need, often in ways we never could have planned or predicted. The beauty of surrender is that it allows us to be present. When we let go of our need to control, we free ourselves from the constant worry and stress of trying to make everything perfect. We stop living in the future, constantly anticipating what will come next, and we begin to fully inhabit the present moment. Surrender is a return to the now, a reminder that life is not a race to the finish line, but a journey to be lived with full awareness and appreciation. In surrender, we also find peace. Peace does not come from having everything go according to plan or from controlling every circumstance. Peace arises when we accept life as it is, when we embrace the mystery, the uncertainty, and the impermanence of all things. Life is fluid, always changing, and by surrendering to its ebb and flow, we align ourselves with the natural rhythm of existence. We stop fighting against life's challenges, and instead, we meet them with grace, knowing that they too are part of the larger unfolding. Surrender allows us to release the burden of needing to be in control of everything. We no longer carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, trying to fix every problem, solve every issue, and manage every detail. We realize that we are not separate from the flow of life. We are part of it. By surrendering, we recognize that we are in harmony with the universe, that everything is unfolding in its own perfect way, and that we are a vital, interconnected part of the whole. This understanding gives us freedom. Freedom from the illusion of separation, freedom from the pressure to constantly achieve, and freedom from the fear of the unknown. There is also a freedom in surrendering to our own vulnerabilities. When we let go of the need to control how others perceive us, we release the facade of perfection we often carry. We embrace our flaws, our imperfections, and our humanness. Surrendering to our true selves, without the need for approval or validation, frees us from the prison of comparison and judgment. It allows us to show up authentically in the world, without fear of rejection or failure, knowing that we are already whole, already worthy, and already enough. Surrender does not mean passivity or inaction. It is not about relinquishing our agency or becoming a victim of circumstances. Rather, it is about surrendering to life's flow while still actively participating in it. It is about choosing to act from a place of inner peace, from a place of trust, and from a place of alignment with our true selves. When we surrender, we are not saying, "I give up." To life, we are saying, "I trust you, life. I trust the path you have for me, and I will walk it with grace and openness." When we stop trying to control everything, we open ourselves to the miraculous. Life has a way of surprising us when we let go of our need for control. Opportunities emerge when we least expect them, and doors open that we never thought possible. The universe has its own intelligence, and by surrendering, we allow it to guide us to places we could never have imagined on our own. In surrender, there is freedom, a freedom that comes not from trying to force our will upon the world, but from allowing the world to unfold in its own time and space. It is the freedom to be present, to trust, to love, and to live fully. It is the freedom to let go of the need for perfection, and to embrace the beauty of what is right here, right now. This freedom is always available to us if we are willing to surrender to it. Freedom in surrender, a phrase that seems contradictory at first glance. How can surrender, a word often associated with defeat, weakness, or giving up, lead to freedom? We live in a world that prizes control, self-sufficiency, and achievement. We are taught from an early age to grasp at life with both hands, to pursue our desires relentlessly, and to shape the world around us to our will. The idea of surrender seems to stand in direct opposition to all that we have been conditioned to believe. But in reality, surrender is the gateway to a freedom we cannot grasp by force. When we speak of surrender, we are not speaking about resignation or passivity. Surrender does not mean giving up or giving in to life's challenges. Rather, it means letting go of the illusion that we can control every aspect of our existence. It means releasing the need to manipulate every situation, every outcome, and every person in our lives. It is the recognition that life, in its vast complexity, unfolds according to its own laws, and that we, as individuals, are not the masters of this unfolding. Surrender is the willingness to accept the flow of life, to trust in its wisdom, and to release our tight grip on what we think should be. The freedom in surrender lies in the liberation from the constant struggle to control. In our striving for control, we create tension within ourselves. We live with the ever-present anxiety that things may not go our way, that we may not achieve our goals, or that we will fail in the eyes of others. This constant pressure erodes our peace and strips away our joy. We are caught in a cycle of desire and fear, always striving, never satisfied, always fearing what lies beyond our control. When we surrender, we let go of this inner conflict. We stop fighting against the natural rhythms of life, and instead we allow ourselves to flow with them. This is not a passive resignation, but an active choice to trust. Trust that life, in its own mysterious way, will guide us where we need to go. Trust that the path we are on, with all its ups and downs, is the path that is meant for us. When we surrender, we acknowledge that we do not need to fight or force every step of the journey. Instead, we can walk with grace and ease, in alignment with the natural unfolding of life. True freedom comes from the release of attachment to outcomes, to expectations, and to the approval of others. When we are not attached to how things should be, we are no longer prisoners to the fluctuations of external circumstances. We are free from the constant need for validation, free from the grip of success and failure. We are free to be ourselves, without the pressure to fit into someone else's mold or meet some arbitrary standard. This is the freedom to be, to live, to express, and to experience life as it is, without trying to manipulate it into something it is not. There is also a profound peace that arises in surrender. Peace comes not from controlling every aspect of life, but from accepting it as it comes. The winds will blow, the storms will rage, and the sun will shine, all in its own time. Surrender allows us to stop fighting against the inevitable, to stop resisting the flow of life. We come to understand that we are not separate from the unfolding of the universe, but an integral part of it. We can relax into this understanding, and in that relaxation, we find the deep peace that comes with letting go of the need for control. This peace is not the absence of challenge or difficulty, but the acceptance that challenges are part of the journey. Surrender means embracing the present moment exactly as it is, without trying to escape it or alter it. We come to realize that each moment, no matter how difficult or uncertain, is an opportunity for growth, for learning, for awakening. In surrender, we are free to experience life in its fullness, without fear, without resistance, and without the need for things to be other than they are. Surrender also brings freedom from the burden of expectation. We often carry heavy loads of expectation, expectations of ourselves, of others, of the world. We expect that things will go a certain way, and when they don't, we feel disappointment, frustration, or anger. But in surrender, we let go of the need for things to unfold according to our own rigid ideas. We allow life to surprise us, to reveal itself to us in ways we could never have anticipated. The beauty of surrender is that it opens us to the mystery of life, to the unknown, and to the infinite possibilities that exist when we stop trying to predict and control every outcome. Freedom in surrender is also freedom from the tyranny of the past. We are often held hostage by our memories, by the regrets of yesterday or the wounds we carry. These past experiences shape how we perceive the present and limit our ability to move forward. Surrender means letting go of these attachments, releasing the weight of the past, and stepping into the freedom of the present moment. We cease to live in the shadows of what has been and begin to live fully in what is. This kind of freedom is profound because it allows us to live without fear. Fear often arises from our attempts to control. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But when we surrender, fear loses its grip on us. We no longer need to control the outcome of every situation, and in that release we find the courage to act, to be vulnerable, and to live without the constant burden of fear. Ultimately, the freedom in surrender is the freedom to be who we truly are, without the need for masks, without the need to prove anything, and without the need to control. It is the freedom to live with authenticity, to flow with life, and to embrace whatever comes with an open heart. It is the freedom to trust that, in surrendering, we are not losing ourselves, but rather we are discovering the deeper truth of who we are, whole, complete, and in harmony with the universe itself.